Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, that's you fanboys. Welcome to a show where we will not be discussing the ABK deal today because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, Hargeet. I'm just sick of the talk, sick of the CMAs, sick of the letters. Send us your letters and blah blah blah. Trash, okay?
Yeah.
Who cares at this point? All right? I'm done. Putting on the blinders, putting on the earmuffs. I'm just done with that conversation. If it goes through, it goes through. If it don't, it don't. Whatever. Like, at this point. I got a great show for you guys today. Hit that like button if you guys enjoy the show, or hit the dislike if you don't enjoy it. I don't know. But you sit here anyway for the whole hour and a half, and you'll dislike a video. It's so weird, right, Hargeet? That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Got a great show for you today. What happened here? It says, okay, are we still on? I just got a message.
Like
all right. Got a great show. I've got an awesome human being here today. One of the most giving people that I've ever met. Honestly, like you are a contributor, a representative of GameOnDaily.com, your one-stop shop for all your gaming news. Gaz and Asa, we know him from Go Live and stuff, and we see Hargeet on there a lot. And yeah, well, welcome Hargeet Chani here. I'm very happy to finally have you and sit down with you and talk to you one-on-one. I've seen you on various podcasts. You've always had thought-provoking, opinions and stuff, and even in the chats. You started in the chats. Now you've come up to all these podcasts, doing RDX, Go Live, Boomsticks podcasts. You've been everywhere. How did that even start for you? Where did you come from, Hargeet? Like, out of nowhere one day, I see you on in the RDX chat, and I'm like, who is this guy giving away all these codes and stuff?
Yeah, it was, I used to watch just, after the fact, not live. So I would watch things here and there, especially when topics were interesting. Including like RDX and Colt and all that stuff. And, eventually I said, well, let's just watch live. And then I'm like, wait, what is this, super chat stuff? People are just putting stuff in and you guys are talking about, this is awesome. I'm going to start typing stuff in. and so it's just kept, going from there. And, at some point, Colt caught up with me on Xbox. So we were able to like add friends, and then from there we went on to party chat, and then it just kind of exploded from there. So I met all of you guys like through that party chat setup. The normal Xbox community thing. Xbox is fantastic, right? That the whole thing that they did with Xbox Live,
the community,
up a whole new world.
The community. I remember starting out on Xbox Live, the beta. And way back in the day, you had to have the beta disc and stuff, put it into the OG Xbox. Playing Ghost Recon was the first game that I played in that beta. And I can't tell you how eye-opening it was, because I was honestly coming from, like the Dreamcast and stuff where you had internet, but it was dial-up, and it was so bad, Hargeet. It was so bad. But it was just like such a breath of fresh air to be able to talk to people, not just type in a little chat, and it was awesome. It was like, wow, I've met people from all over, and still to this day, I still talk to a few guys from New York and Pennsylvania today from all those years ago. Some of them don't even play games anymore, but I still keep up with them. It's so weird. True friendships can and have been made on Xbox Live, and that's, even on the PSN party chat. I know they don't really talk very much over there, but they do make friends over there as well. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but PlayStation, it seems like more Xbox gamers tend to get in party chats than PlayStation gamers. And that might be a thing because it's mostly single player games that people are really accustomed to over there. Because that's what it was for me. And like, I never got in party chats over there. But for some reason, in Xbox party chat, they just suck you in.
Yeah, they had the better infrastructure to start with. It's now pretty much caught up, right? It's not too bad. It's pretty good over there on PlayStation. But to your point, they started focusing, PS3, they actually had some multiplayer games. But they really started focusing. And what was it? Resistance. And, there was a bunch of them, right?
SOCOM.
And so they just decided to change focus, right, and become all single player focused games, and that's fine, whatever, that's their thing. But that does kind of change the mindset of the players. There's been the multiplayer thing on Xbox, especially with the 360, right? Call of Duty, it just kind of came up with the 360, and you had that whole culture start up with party chats and stuff.
Yep.
And then you had Halo, and it just, it exploded from there.
Exploded
Gears.
with Halo. Yeah.
And Gears, and it was great. It just changes. Like, so I guess for Xbox players, it's just kind of baked in. We just expect it, right? It's kind of our thing that we have. Xbox Live, we play online games, and you have party chats, and you can talk to people, right? So
I don't know how you do something though. I catch you in party chats a lot with, like, I don't know, with 50 million people, and there's so much chatter going on in one space. It's hard to focus sometimes. It's crazy. But
sometimes if you have more than 10 people, and a couple of them are talking all the time, it's an interesting thing to kind of get in there.
It's like, shut up, Jedi Knight Peter. Just be quiet. All right. We're trying to focus. No, just kidding. Spinal 11, thank you for the super chat. He says, but what about the APK deal? What about it? It sucks. Right now, I don't want to hear anything about that deal. It's done. Just Gaming Podcast says, Fonz, Mark and I met on Xbox Live 16 years ago. Well, I'm happy that you guys had that love connection. 16 years strong. Happy anniversary, guys. Anyways, Just Gaming Podcast. I've had them on here before. They're great guys, fun guys. Biff Rinaldi, I'm with you. I'm so sick of the ABK topic right now. What you hear on these podcasts when they bring up the ABK deal, and I'm not trying to knock anybody, but all you hear is the same points being regurgitated over and over and over. It's like, how many times can we say, I don't know, I think they're on Sony's side over here, and I don't know, it may go through, it may not. It's like, just let it play out now. I mean, unless something big happens, it's a non-issue right now. It's just, I don't know. Send your letters in, guys. Send your letters in. All right? I saw people saying that online today. Sony guys, we need to combat the Xbox guys. Send in your letters like they're doing. And it's like, oh, geez. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. It's the job that they have. It's unprofessional. I don't know. It's dumb. Hargeet, let's talk about you. Again, Game On Daily representative, gameondaily.com. Guys, check that website out. It's great. Gaz, Asa, they run a great website there. And it culminates all the news, gaming news from everywhere, and just puts it in one place. So you get everything. You get everything new and all that stuff. And it's pretty cool. And it's a nice looking site as well. So runs good. But for you, I want to know a little bit more about you, Hargeet. Go back to when you were like toddler Hargeet or whatever. I don't know when you started gaming, but little Hargeet, where did you start gaming? I want a brief history.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like you, like basically, we grew up with this stuff. It was awesome, right? We got to see every stage of it. So I think my first one, there was, we used to have little boxes that had just one game. And I think it was Tron. I think that was the one I had. Wow. And that was my first introduction to it. I must have been like 5 or something. That's very, very old, a long time ago. And then like at one of our friends' house, they had a Coleco, I think. So that was another console that I got to play with. For me, my first console was the Atari. I got the 2600. And then I switched over to the Nintendo, and wow, what a jump that was pretty cool. But man, that Nintendo with Mario and then eventually Zelda.
Oh yeah.
Man, what a console.
The gold cartridge.
Yeah, I bought the gold cartridge. I had the gold card. It was so awesome. And then Zelda 2. God, I played the hell out of that game. I loved it. It was great. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't seem to like Zelda 2.
It's so weird that I loved the Zelda games back then, all the way up until Ocarina of Time. I love that game. That's my favorite Zelda game of all time. But I can't go back and play Zelda games anymore. Like I just kind of grew out of it.
Exactly, right? Like now we expect certain things from a game to just do for you. And like at that time, everything was new, right? And so what they did at the time was so awesome. But now we just expect, because other things have come to kind of supplant those things.
Some people can go back though. And there's retro gamers all over YouTube and they love it.
Yeah. But yeah, we just like quality of life things that have come along that we just kind of expect now, right? But
So you did Nintendo, then you went to, I assume, Super Nintendo,
and then TurboGrafx 16.
Ooh, not a lot of people had that.
I did. I thought it was pretty good. Like we had a vibrant market in the 90s, right? It was great. There were so many options until Sony came along. But you know, the next one I think I got was the 64. Then I think that's when like the GameCube, PS2, and then Xbox came around, right? I think that was
So you were not a
the kind of.
Sega guy at all.
No, I did not have one myself. My friend did though. One of my friends
Okay.
had the Sega, so I played there. So I played those Sega
See,
games there. And vice versa. That's what we did. We just would
yeah,
swap
I
back
did
and
the
forth,
same
right?
thing. Like, my
Yeah,
friend had a Master System. I had a Nintendo, and not
yeah.
one time did we console war over the thing.
No,
We
we just
had
played the
fun
games,
playing each
whatever.
other's games. That's
Yeah,
why
exactly.
it's so foreign to me when people tell me that are around my age and say, "Oh yeah, we console warred back then." I'm like, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't like that. It's like, oh, you have games, let's play, right? It doesn't matter, and we would just
yeah,
go to each other's house and just play, right?
yeah.
Whatever. The big one that came out wasn't even on the consoles. It was Street Fighter. Street Fighter in the arcade. Like pretty much every day after high school, we would just go to play Street Fighter in
You're
the
just
arcades.
like me, bro. I did the
Yeah, it
same
was like
thing
we had to go
after
play
school.
Street Fighter. It was so good. It was
Bro,
so
super.
good.
I played Street Fighter Championship Edition all the time, daily after school. We'd be walking
Yeah.
home, and there was a mini mart there, and we ended up getting 86 from that mini mart because the guy claimed that one of my friends stole a sandwich one day, and we're like, nobody stole a
Wow.
sandwich. But anyways, we got kicked out. Up until then, though, we had a blast playing that game there, and then we just moved on to Burger King. They had
Yeah.
one, so yeah.
Yep.
Street Fighter was everywhere. They put
It was
that
so
thing in
awesome. Yeah.
everything because people were playing it all the time.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But
I don't know if there was anything else like that. I mean, it just like exploded. So
yeah,
many people wanted, and
Mortal
it was a
Kombat too.
short. Like you knew you were only playing for a few minutes until the next quarter comes in, right? So great for people who wanted to have an arcade, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, as far as players, it was just like a constant like, and you could get your chance because somebody's going to lose, so your turn, right? So it
Yep.
was pretty good. And you had the quarters on the thing
Yeah, you
stacked.
put your
Mine
quarters
next,
on
mine
the
next.
top. Yep.
Yep.
I got next. Yep.
Yep. It's
Yep.
so good.
Bill
Um,
Fernaldi says he totally console warred. Yeah,
oh
I
wow.
didn't, man. I had fun
I
playing
didn't
my
get to.
friend's console. Like his Master
Yeah.
System had like Rambo and stuff. Alex Kidd. Like I had fun with those games.
Yeah, we just swapped around. I had the Turbo Graphics. A lot of people came over to just play that. Like, hey, let's
Yep.
play the
Yep.
TG16 games. Like, it
You
didn't
know what I
matter.
bet you
Whoever had
didn't
games.
have? I bet you didn't have the CDI, the Philips
No.
CDI. Because
No,
that thing
no.
was trash, man. They tried to sell
Yeah.
some kind of Link game there, but it was so generic. It was
Yeah.
they weren't pushing that. And plus, the PlayStation came out right around the same time, just
Yep.
demolished
Which
everything.
killed everything. It
Yep.
killed everybody. And, you know, so, well, that's a whole other story. But I never got into PlayStation. I never got PS1. And I don't know. There was just something about them that just like pushed me away. I just couldn't. It was much, even like Xbox when they were trying to, just like their documentary said, like, what are you doing going into consoles? Like, well, why are you here? Right.
Yeah.
But the day that the Xbox came, that week that it came out, I usually would go into town just for shopping to figure out what movie or game I could play for the weekend. So that Friday I go in and they just happen to have an Xbox sitting there. I'm like, okay, what the heck? I'll just buy it. And I bought an extra controller, got some games that I thought would be good. And they had
Back in the day when you can go into a place and buy a console.
buy the game.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then they had like stacks and stacks and stacks of this game called Halo. I had never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
And I look at this thing and I'm like, this is gonna be trash. I seriously, that's what I thought. I think it's gonna be trash. So I'm like, but they expect me to buy it, obviously, since they have like 4 stacks of this thing. So fine, you know what? I'll give it a try, whatever. So I pick it up, and I usually like to get the crap out of the way. So I put that in first, and I play it, and I'm like, first this sucks because it's not inverted. Oh, I can change the inversion. Okay, that's cool. This is actually pretty good. What's going on? I landed on the Halo ring. I hit pause. I called up my buddy. I'm like, dude, I got an Xbox. They had this game called Halo. You have to come here now and play this game. And that was Friday night. We didn't stop playing till Sunday morning. We didn't sleep.
Bro.
We just kept playing. Halo. What a freaking game.
What an experience landing on that Halo ring and just looking at the environment.
Yeah.
Because
You're like,
at the
"What
time,
is
you're like
this?"
blown away by the graphics. You're like, what is this? This is incredible.
I mean, it looks like crap now, but it's like, dude, when you were there, this was just
Oh
so
my
insane.
God.
And being able to play that on a controller and very well, I'm like, this is so insane. And so, yeah, we just played that all the way to Sunday. And I'm like, holy crap, we got to go to work tomorrow. So, yeah, it was what a change, right? So that pretty much cemented me into the Xbox. I still love my Nintendos because they have the Mario and the Zelda. I will always play Nintendo. So I always pre-order that box as well. So Wii U, now Switch. I have those Xbox. So when it was around the PS3s coming out, I finally got. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Your video seems to have gone from the thing. Anyways, or maybe you just put focus on me.
Yeah.
So the PS2, I bought that, and I got like the maybe 7 or 8 exclusives that seemed interesting to me. So I went ahead and bought that and played those. Same though, PS3, I got it because Blu-ray was winning, and I'm like, well, okay, I need a Blu-ray player. I'll just buy the PS3. So I bought that, and then a bunch of their exclusives. So I usually buy PlayStation to play their exclusives. Same with PS4. I got that a little bit later and said, okay, well, here are all the exclusives. I'll play those. PS5, I did pre-order immediately. But by this time, I'd given up on PlayStation, and the headache I have with PlayStation isn't just it's not the games, it's the damn controller. Every time I'm playing on the damn controller, my hands start aching, and I'm like, okay, this is it's.
Do you have arthritis in your hands too?
Not arthritis.
Oh,
it's
see,
just something about the way that. Yeah, I don't know what it's something about the stretch of having my thumb like on the wrong. I don't know, that stick being on the bottom. It just doesn't work for me. And
yeah, I don't like the staggered stick. I mean, I don't like it without the staggered sticks either. But I still play it. You know, side by side. It does feel different, but I'm okay with it. But yeah, I'd prefer staggered sticks.
Yeah, so I'm like, I think I'm doing a disservice to those studios because I basically once I start playing those games, I want it to be over because my hands are aching. And I'm like, this is just not fair to them, right? So like, I might even like this game normally, but I'm like, I just want this to be done. So if there's any level of like resistance, like as in the game had one area that was bad, I'm like, God, this whole game sucks because I don't even want to deal with it anymore. You know, and it's like, and that's just not fair to them. So like, thankfully, they're now doing the multi-plat with PC. I'm like, fine, I'll just play your games on PC where I can use my Xbox controller, and then I won't have this problem.
Aren't there third-party controllers with staggered sticks for the
There
Sony?
were with PS4. There was Scuff. I don't know if there's one for PS5 yet. There might be something coming, but
That's
I'm like,
something that might be useful to you,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because at this point, I don't need to worry about it. Okay, a year later, it'll come to
you know
PC.
What's funny about that? You bring up the Scuff controller on the PS4. My boss, he stopped. He went to the Xbox Series X instead of getting a PS5 because they no longer supported the controllers that he had. He spent a lot of money on his Scuff controller, and he was pissed off that he couldn't bring it to the PlayStation 5. So mad that he was like, I'm leaving them. I'm tired of this. They're getting more like Apple every day. And I'm like, well, I mean, these consoles are going to have proprietary things. I mean, Xbox has their own like memory cards and stuff, but Xbox is more open, I think, than Sony. But again, he just stopped playing it completely. He's like, I'm not buying a PS5. I'm done with Sony. And he was so against Xbox before that. I laughed at him. But he did. He committed to a Series X and he got one. So
yeah, and I pre-order like all the Xboxes when they come out. So I've had all of those as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been kind of my journey. In the middle of all that, somewhere along the ways, my father decided he's a building architect, and he decided to work with a couple of software engineers and create some company that never went anywhere. But they bought a PC, and that PC was sitting in our living room. And it was just sitting there doing nothing. And I'm like, hey, can I use that thing? And they said, yeah, sure, why not? And so it was running DOS. This is back in the mid 80s. So there was no Windows. So I just started learning. I started learning, how to use a computer, how to do things in DOS, eventually how to use Windows. And all of it was, of course, to play video games. So I played a whole bunch of PC video games back in the LucasArts, Sierra Online, right? Like when you had Microsoft Flight Simulator and you had
Sierra. Oh my
Sierra,
gosh.
which is, by the way, part of Activision. Activision owns that now. And so like, all these games, right? And I don't know if you remember this, but if you bought Sierra games, you could send in the registration. And if you did, they would have a raffle and you might win all their games. I won all their games. So
what?
They sent me 2 massive boxes, like 45 games. I'm like, holy crap. So yeah, I got to play all those Sierra games.
That's awesome. That's awesome, dude. I thought those things were just, fake back in the day. Those sweepstake things. I just was like, I'm not sending that in.
So I said to them, I won it. I'm like, this is awesome. So so I played a bunch of PC games. And the funny thing is that became my career because I learned it to play video games.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Somebody said Space Quest. Remember Police Quest? I played those.
Police
Dragon's Quest.
Space Quest. Yep. Quest for Glory. Right. They had all sorts of fun things. What was it? Great Gabriel Knight. That was a great series. I don't know if you ever played that one.
No, I didn't. But I played a little bit of PC way back then, and then I was mostly a console guy all my life. World of Warcraft was the one thing that took me to PC for quite some time. And yeah, a couple of years of World of Warcraft, and then I had to move away.
I
The
wonder if that'll
addiction
come
was
to
real.
the console with the purchase. That'd be interesting, right?
Yeah, you know what? I suspect that it probably they'll try to do that because it
Yeah.
would, man, they would get so many new players on that, and from what I hear, you know, they could use a lot more. You know, I know it's still
Yeah.
a big game, but yeah, they could use a lot more. Well, what
Yeah.
have you been playing lately, man?
So with Game Pass, this fantastic thing, there are games that leave. So I have been essentially focusing on the games that leave before they leave. So the last few I've been playing is Forgotten City, which for those who don't know, essentially was a mod in Skyrim that somebody
Mhm.
created. It was its own little game within Skyrim, and it was so good that they made it into a separate game. So I just finished that. That was pretty good. The Good Life, Echo Generation. I also just happened to finish Beacon Pines. I don't think that's leaving. AI, the Somnium Files, stuff like that. I started Gotham Knights on PC. I wanted to get the 60 frames. And we've been playing Halo all this time. I don't know. Have I done anything else? I might have played and finished one of my own games that I own. No, I think Astria Ascending. That was leaving, and then I couldn't finish it in time, and I went ahead and bought it. So I played that one as well. That was in Game Pass, and I was trying to finish it up in time. I don't think I was going to, so I bought it.
a lot of AA games you've been playing there and having fun with the indies and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're really into those types of games, Game Pass has a ton of them, a ton of games like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to just basically whatever they have, I install it. I'll try it. Right. If like an hour you haven't hooked me, at that point I'm going to give up. Right. So if I like read something about it, says, yeah, you have to kind of go 5 hours to get the hook. Fine, I'll give it a try, right? But in most cases, like if I've given you an hour and that's not enough, I'm out.
That's a lot.
But that's the beauty of Game Pass, right? So in some cases, you're right. In some cases, it's like, well, I can't even figure out what the heck you want me to do. So I've given you like 20 minutes and I don't know what's going on here, so I'm out.
Right? I mean, if you really think about it, when they tell you, oh, well, you know, it takes even an hour to get into, it's like, you know, that's an hour of people's time that they're not really going to put in. Like a lot of people won't put in that much time if they're not feeling the game. And, you know, so I don't know why they, you know, some of these games and some of these, you know, gamers out there will tell you, oh, just wait till the 12th hour. It gets amazing. I'm like, 12th hour? Jeez.
Yeah. I wish people did a better job of like, so what you want to do is like the first half an hour has to hook you, right?
Yeah.
It has to be so compelling that you're like, I need to know what happens next, right? And that way you're just invested. But I don't know why some games don't do that, but yeah, so
well,
I love
speaking of games, I got a game I'd like to play with you here. So we're going to go ahead and
I'm going to totally fail this.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Let's go ahead and play some 5 questions. 5 questions. All right, Hargeet, this is 5 questions, 4 trivia, 1 subjective question. You'll definitely get the subjective question, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You know, as host, I have the power to say, no, you don't get it, but usually I give it to you. Anyways, number 1, oh, you know what? Let me give some music here for you. There you go. It's not 5 questions till we hit that. What development team created the Psychonauts franchise?
Oh, Double Fine.
Correct. Too easy. Name the protagonist in Psychonauts 1 and 2.
Oh gosh, what is his name? I cannot remember the name. I'm terrible with names, by the way. I cannot remember his name. Yeah, no, you got me. I can't remember the name. It's just not coming.
Rasputin Aquato.
Rasputin.
Yeah. Number 3. What time period does A Plague's Tale Requiem take place in?
I mean, I don't know if they actually tell you. I'm just going to guess medieval times, like medieval Europe. That's what it looks like.
Correct. I would take medieval times or 14th century France. Yeah. So, good job. Number 3. Number 4. In Japan, what was the name of the Super Nintendo?
Famicom, right? Super Famicom?
Correct. Easy. See, Didn't do too bad there. 3 out of 4 there. And
go.
here is your 5th and final question. What is your favorite game of all time and why?
This is a kind of tough one. So you're saying game because I think you usually have game experience, right? But
Yeah.
So, because experience-wise, I would say it's got to be Street Fighter, and it's because of the whole like changing our friends and circle
Yes,
and going
love
every
it.
day. It's so changing of what happened before, right? So that would be the other. If it was just game, I'd say Mass Effect the trilogy, and it's because it's just mind-bogglingly awesome. It was so good for when it came out.
I'm just gonna hit that over and over because I love
Yeah.
both answers. Mass Effect
Yeah.
trilogy was just amazing.
Yep.
We can just leave that Andromeda by the wayside because
Yep.
that was just bad. Yes, thank you for playing. You don't win anything, but you get the chance to play with me and have some fun there. And people seem to really enjoy that. And some of them come here for 5 questions, and they're like I'm out after that, and they bounce. Anyways, let's talk about God of War. God of War Ragnarok. The previews have come out, and many media outlets got their hands on it, and they got about 5 hours or so of the game. And they're saying that it's a continuation of 2018 like we knew. And there's new things that they have implemented within the game, which is good news, great news. Atreus himself has gotten a bit older here in the story, and he apparently he's a lot different than Kratos. He acts a lot different with the environment and stuff, and how he interacts with things. They've upgraded a lot of his move sets too. So they're saying don't sleep on upgrading Atreus, guys. Don't sleep on that. Because he's got some really helpful things to help out during some tough encounters. And now they actually have weapon-specific kill finishers, Hargeet. So before, when you would finish a kill, you would usually, like Kratos would just use his bare hands to finish the kill. Now, if you're using an axe or whatever you're using, that will kill whatever you're, up against. I like that. And there's more mobility now with Kratos during combat. You can actually grapple up to ledges now like you could in the original God of Wars, which that is a big thing. That is a cool thing. So Kratos is actually jumping even more now, guys. He's jumping even more. So that's good. Combat has overall progressed, they say, giving us more weapons, more shields that have different effects with different encounters. Some weapons and shields are considered high risk, high reward. If you get a perfect parry with a shield, you'll be met with a very cool, not a finisher, but like a stun or some other thing that shield may do to the enemy. So there's a bit more RPG elements thrown into this game, Hargeet. What have you heard anything more about the game, or what is your overall feeling about Ragnarok? Did you play the 2018 version? Did you like it?
I played and finished that one. It was pretty good. I tried the original ones and actually couldn't actually keep playing them. It was button mashy, and I'm like, okay, this is too much for my hand. So I actually didn't play those. But when they announced this, was it 2015 or whatever? I'm like, I think I can play this one. This one looks different enough. I think I'll be able to play this one. So I pre-ordered it, and it was pretty good. It was really good. I enjoyed it was like 20-ish hours or something like that, right? It was pretty good. And as far as what I've been hearing about this is, yes, it's kind of a continuation, and so they haven't changed it too much, but it still has a lot of cool things, and there's a lot more, I guess, cutscenes and story. So we'll see, right? So it should be pretty good, I would assume. So hopefully it is fun. I will, of course, only be playing it when it comes to PC, so it'll be a year or so before I get to play it.
You'll have to wait a year, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they're saying. A year right now.
Which is fine. That's fine.
But
yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like every new action game has a grapple hook. That's something that they've added to many things now. It's like, what can we do with this game? I don't know, add a grapple hook. Yeah, let's do it. And that seems to be the norm. That seems to be the thing to do now for action-oriented
If done
games.
right, it's actually quite cool, right? It can be pretty good.
Is.
So.
I think it was done right in Halo Infinite. I really like the fact that you can use it everywhere there. And yeah, that was the one downfall with Horizon Forbidden West's grapple hook, is that you couldn't use it at any time, anywhere. It was pretty much designated spots, And anyways, any of this stuff that I mentioned sound interesting to you about the game? Do you like the fact that they added more RPG elements into it? I like that. I like more RPG elements into my games.
Yeah, it gives you some variability, right? You can choose one path, somebody can choose a different path. So it does give you some of that. Ultimately, though, it's not going to be a full, you can change the story, right? It's not going to be full RPG. But what the heck? Having these elements isn't bad. Changing what things you want to prioritize. Maybe you want to prioritize range stuff versus, melee stuff. Fair enough, right? So cool. You get to do that.
Speaking of that, Atreus even has more melee combat now, apparently.
Nice.
So he doesn't just use the bow anymore. He actually uses weapons and maybe his fists. I don't know. Maybe his little tiny fists. But no, chat, what do you guys think about Ragnarok so far? Have you guys seen any of the previews? I've been watching the coverage. I've been really liking what I've seen. Somebody on Twitter, a friend of mine, Tony Polanco, I've talked to him many times before in the past. He's been on an old podcast I used to have. He put out there, because he's a journalist and he has played God of War, the preview. And he mentioned on Twitter that there's aspects of it that feel like last gen. Like he could definitely tell that it's a last generation game. And people were so up in arms for him saying this. And it's like, well, he's not lying. He's telling you the truth. I mean, these cross-generational games, they're going to have aspects of that. Like one thing he says is like, you can tell where they're hiding the loading screens.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. It's not taking advantage of the SSD, if it were just a proper next-gen title. So things like that, that he's getting railed for. And it's just like, why? I mean,
but it is a last gen game, right? It's on PS4, so
yeah.
it's gotta work on a PS4, base PS4. So I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah,
it is what it is, right? So
yeah, because nowadays when you look at like these next gen titles, Gotham Knights or Plague's Tale Requiem, they're trying to take advantage of the SSDs. That's the number one thing I think they're trying to do over everything else, because outside of that, I don't really see much difference between gameplay mechanics and even graphics from last gen to this gen. It might be a bit shinier. They might add ray tracing, but there's nothing really there that separates them from last gen other than taking advantage of those SSDs and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, until we get to like the, when you look at UE5, you look at that Matrix demo, you look at some of the stuff online where,
and you look at that frame rate, then you're like, I don't know.
That's been the big concern that I've had is, okay, but we see the frame rate being pretty low. Is that going to be what UE5 does for us? And I'm not overly enthusiastic about that.
And not just that, you've got also the push for, fidelity over frame rate sometimes with some of these developers. So
and I hope they do, like most of them, have your fidelity mode, but have a performance mode, and make sure that the performance mode is there.
You know what, Hargeet? I have a video coming out about this on Monday. I'm working on it now, and I'm talking about the difference between 30 and 60 frames and why gamers should really care. I mean, it makes a big difference. It's not just just something that looks better. I mean, it does, but it's the feel, it's the input lag. It's less of it. There's so much.
What drove Colt and I to play Gotham Knights on PC?
Yeah, we'll be talking about Gotham Knights a little later, but yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's talk about Silent Hill 2, the remake. There's more remakes coming to the PlayStation 5, guys. Shocker, another remake. Oh, man. Yeah, it's so funny to me that we just keep getting remake after remake after remake. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I personally feel like these remakes, I'd rather see new IP. I'd rather see new IP, guys.
Yeah, it is kind of disappointing, right? But I guess there's money to be made. And just like in Hollywood, right? It's like, hey, even if I make, 50, 60% of what the original made, that's money, right? Yeah. What's it going to cost to make this? Let's just do it. And because you don't have to storyboard anymore. You have a story, unless you really want to change the story. You can just take what you have. Now, RE remakes have been better. that Final Fantasy VII remake was better because they said, okay, let's just start the drawing board. We'll have the storyline as kind of a guiding principle of what we're going to do, but it's not going to be the end all be all. We're going to actually go make whatever we want. There's going to be more stuff here than just the original game. That's cool, and we'll see what this one does. But there is a thing of like, why not new stuff? So I keep hearing everybody wants like, hey, let's go make this again, or let's go make that again. In some cases, I agree, right? In some cases, if it's something like we were talking about the original Zelda, right? But there are other games that like, would it be good to have this in a more modern format? Maybe, sure, right? But then there's also just, can I get something new? Can I get something more interesting than just what we've already?
I'm not totally mad at Silent Hill 2, the remake, because this is a 21-year-old game, and you know the updates and stuff. Well, it's being developed by Team Bloober guys. You may know them from the Medium and Friday the 13th, or no, Blair Witch.
Yeah. Blair Witch, that was the one.
Yeah, but they really haven't made anything really notable. But I don't know. Some people are kind of looking at Team Bloober and going, I don't know if this is the team to do this and bring it for us and make it, modernize and keep the original, atmosphere and stuff. Because that was the biggest thing about Silent Hill 2 was the atmosphere. It was very atmospheric, very creepy, very, that horror genre. It was good. I liked the franchise myself. I really enjoyed Silent Hill 1 and 2. They're promising to keep that atmosphere, and they're also promising to modernize it. But we don't know exactly what they mean by modernizing the game. They are talking about changing some of the mechanics and stuff. They have to, because the combat needs to be redesigned, because now it's more over the shoulder perspective. Whereas before, it wasn't like that. So I don't know. What do you think about Team Bloober? Have you played any other games? Did you play the Medium?
I played and finished the Medium. I also played a little bit of Blair Witch. I
couldn't get into Blair Witch at all.
Yeah, it didn't hook me. It was something about like you're in that woods, and I'm like, I'm kind of lost, and I just don't care anymore. So I uninstalled it. The Medium, I kind of got more interested in because of they immediately showed you some weird stuff going on that you were a part of, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting enough. I'll keep going with it. And so, I did end up finishing that one. I think it kind of went a little too, I think it overstayed its welcome. It could have been a little bit shorter and it would have been okay, but it was mostly good. I liked the Medium. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Blair Witch one, I did not care. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. You know what? One thing I totally forgot to mention when we were talking about God of War, just to touch base really quickly on that, because it's really important. They did come out and say that they were going to have 3 performance modes. So they are pushing,
but
something like that. They're pushing like a really high fidelity mode with 40 frames, I guess. One with 60 frames and one with 120 frames, and another one, of course, with 30. That'll be the highest res and all that stuff, visuals. But 120, they're trying to target above 1080, 120. That is insane.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, you take like Modern Warfare 2 that's coming out, right? That's the campaign was available for pre-order folks. That does 1080p 120 on the Series S, right? It does 1440 60 on the Series S, right? So why not, right? A developer that can do it will actually take advantage of these boxes, and then you have the Series X power and the PS5 power, and they're able to do a lot with it. 4K 60, 1440, 120 on those boxes. Like, why not, right? And so first parties should be doing that. 120 should be a target wherever possible. Why not do it? And,
of course.
So I love it, especially when it's an action-y game or a first-person shooter. You want to have, right, that like 120. It's really good. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. But just to cap off Silent Hill Remake, guys, this is Bloober team. They're going to create this. Of course, they brought you the Medium. And Blair Witch, but hopefully they knock it out of the park. I hope they do. I'd like to revisit the games. It's been so long since I played them. I played them again 21 years ago. So for me, it'll be like a brand new experience again, because I've totally forgot the games. I remember bits and pieces and some of the creepy jump scares, but You know, a lot of them are not there anymore in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm losing it. I'm getting old, people.
Too many games.
So let's go ahead and talk about this Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
Gotham Knights. All right. So I know the Metacritic. Look, you know, the funniest thing is Dealer Gaming made one of the funniest jokes on Twitter when this dropped and the Metacritic dropped. And, you know, he said that it was something like they couldn't manage to hit 60 frames per second, but at least, you know, on Metacritic, they're able to get into the 60s. It was so good the way he worded it. It was perfect. But yeah, the fact that they're not even in the 70s on this, for the most part, it's because the game is really poorly optimized on everything, on all platforms. I mean, Digital Foundry came out, they showed you it's not looking good on any platform. The PC, it's very, very messed up as well. It's just, you know, even on a 3090, people are having frame drops. They can't even, you know, really stick to 4K 60. And that's just insane. I mean, the game to me doesn't even look all that impressive, to be honest. The city is pretty lifeless. There's like not much going on. You see them just driving down the street. Whereas in like Arkham Knights and those older Arkham games, you couldn't walk down a block without getting involved in scuffles. So I don't know what it is about this game. It's just very resource heavy, or I don't know how it was coded or whatnot. I don't know if it's the engine. But again, if you go back to Arkham Knight, it was bad when it released on PC at first as well. So it seems like it's got a lot of the frame timing issues and stuff that Arkham Knight had as well. So I don't know what do you think this comes down to? Why do you think they're having so many problems with this game?
Well, they changed a couple of things, and that's probably what it is, right? So it's got co-op and it's got untethered co-op, and both of those will potentially have performance impacts. And you know, they also had to change the way the gameplay flows, right? Because with Batman, it was you, and then every action you take is all about you. And so let's say you're you know, countering and going after you know, an enemy that's 5 feet away. Well, what if the other player is hitting that enemy at the same time? What do you do, right? Who wins, right? So you have to account for all that, which means you have to change the gameplay a bit, right? So that nice flow that we had with Arkham, with, you know, with the Batman character, it has to kind of unfortunately change. So they did what they could, right? And you know, it may hit, it may not, but you know, that plus, I guess it's really the untethering. That's what they're saying. I don't know if it's entirely accurate, if it just takes time to figure it out, but you know, they are saying that is what's causing some of these performance issues. And as far as the density on the PC, you have an option to change the density. I changed it, but I haven't noticed it be that much better. But I'm also right at the beginning, so I'll see if it like actually makes a difference. Like just going down a street, do I see more people or not? So. But yeah, there is a density slider depending on how much CPU power you have. You can add more people on the screen. But yeah, it's an interesting game. I think it's going to take some time for them to kind of. My expectation is that we'll have a performance mode on consoles at some point, right? It just makes no sense to have a 30 frame only thing, right? They got to have a performance mode.
Yeah, I think you're right too. One area I think that is a big problem is the fact that they're forcing ray tracing on the console. Yeah. There's no toggle to even turn that off.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell the decision there was for. Why do that?
Like, I don't know, especially if you could turn it off on the PC, which a lot of people are doing, and they're getting much better frame rates. It's a lot more steady when they turn off the ray tracing. It's such a resource hog. I don't understand that desire to leave it on. I don't realize why they did that. It doesn't make sense to me, Hargeet. Like, we should have these toggles for especially resource hogging, you know, features like ray tracing.
Especially if you don't want them, right? I mean, ray tracing, it adds it's
sometimes it can add a lot.
Yeah, but it's like in this game, is it going to be that noticeable? Nah, right? You're probably fine with like the lighting that we usually use, right? So I don't know.
And if you guys didn't see it, Hargeet gave out a code for the game. It's probably already taken, but yeah, he gave out a code for the game. That's just how awesome he is. But yeah, no, it's and if you want it, by the way, let us know in the chat. I'd like to know which one of you.
The Confusion maybe that won it.
Nice. Congrats, man. Congrats. That's why you guys need to be here in the live chat. If you're listening to this on demand, come to the live chat. You've got Hargeet giving away codes sometimes, and other people doing the same, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I just don't know why they decided to make these choices. One thing I don't like is the fact that they tell you, oh, we couldn't have hit 60 frames on these consoles. That is just not being truthful at all. They're not being truthful. Because what about me, somebody who's a solo gamer, single player experience? Yep. I'm not going to play this game co-op. Why don't I get a choice? You know, why do I have to be stuck with this open, almost live servicey type game? And funny thing is, I've heard other people say it too, and it does kind of look like that when you look at all the elements that they've thrown in. It looks like a live service game almost. Like that was their original intention, and they just pulled away from that.
Yeah,
it's weird. The looting and all that.
Yeah. I wish they had though. Like if you're in single player mode, hey, you know what? You can take advantage of like all the extra power because we're not going to handle all the extra calculations needed to share the board with the other player, right? So it is very odd that they didn't do that. You can always just say I'm turning off, drop in, drop out co-op and give me my performance mode. But they did not do that. And again, maybe they will. After 6 months, you'll get that toggle, and then you can go ahead and do that. But yeah, it is a little. I mean, look, a lot of games these days they come out a little rough, and then they take a bit of patching, and a couple of months later, it's actually in a lot better shape. If they're going to do a 60 FPS, I wouldn't expect it to be, within a month or two. It's probably going to be 6 months, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it is kind of like, I mean, I have a 3080 Ti and I'm able to run everything at kind of highest. And then I just put it on DLSS and it's handling it. I do get occasional drops in certain things. Like you can use a grapple, right? And if I'm grappling in that specific instance, it might drop to like the 40s, but otherwise it stays pretty locked at 60. So I've been okay with it. It's been pretty good for me. Yeah, I'm sure I can turn things off, make it 120 if needed, but yeah,
put it down on the lowest settings to do that. Here's some of the concerns people have had with the game so far, besides poor optimization. The combat itself, some call it sluggish and repetitive. After a while, at first they say that they really enjoy it, and then after a while, it just becomes kind of just boring for some people. Also, the city itself, like I said earlier, it's pretty lifeless. And I've seen that. I've watched people actually play this game and move around, grapple around the city, and even walk on the streets. And you might see one NPC for like 5 blocks. It's really weird how they have it like that, but it's really weird. There's lots of complaint about the gear system. Not the fact that you don't get some cool looking gear. Some people really like the way some of the outfits and stuff look, but some of the gear that you pick up, it's got that looter shooter vibe where it gives you like 5% more to defense, or some just crap. Basically, they're saying in the end, it's not really all that helpful. It's just there. And I've read many reviewers saying that the RPG elements that were added in they're pointless. And I don't know. Have you seen any of that so far? Like some of the gear and stuff, you're like, well, that's kind of useless for me, or
I'm too early on. I guess I'm right at the point where I get to actually create my first piece of gear. So I have not gotten far enough into it. I'm not even to the point where I can actually do the co-op. So I played a bit. So part of this is like, okay, if I'm going to do it on PC, I have to now set it up so my PC is talking to my TV, not my monitor. So I was doing that for like a half an hour. And then I finally started playing the game. And I liked the beginning of it. The opening cutscene was pretty interesting. I'll just leave it at that if you haven't played it.
I heard the story is really good up until the very end. That's what I'm hearing. The ending just kind of falls flat.
Fizzles, I hope it's good, but that is kind of disappointing, right? So we'll see what they do with that, if they can maybe give us some DLC that fleshes it out a bit. But yeah, at least so far, it's compelling enough to want me to play.
Yeah, no, that's a good sign that they're saying that the story is fun as you're playing through it. That's always good for me. But endings can sometimes really ruin a game for me. Assassin's Creed Origins, looking at you. That ending was horrible, but the game was amazing up until that point.
which is why people didn't like
Mass
3
Effect
over the other
3,
one.
the ending,
Yeah, the game was
exactly.
fantastic up
Until
to
the
the
end.
end.
Yep, yep.
Like, it was great, but man.
I think this, a lot of this, again, I go back to these developers saying things like, oh, we couldn't have hit the 60 frames target. They need to stop doing that because it's ridiculous. You have lower end PCs, lower than the Series X, that are able to achieve 1080p 60 with this game. If you gave us the ability to turn off certain functions, this game would hit 60. I think at this time, it just comes down to poor optimization. They didn't have time to really get it out in the best shape. Again, you've got investors, you've got publishers on your back, and you've got that time constraint. I get all that, but don't tell your customers that your console can't do that. And surely don't tell them that their console is a potato.
Oh,
don't do that either. Like that art developer, or he was an artist, I think, but he helps develop games. He said that the Series S was a potato, and I'm just like, we've seen how many games run at even 120 frames per second on the Series S.
Modern Warfare 2, brand new game.
It's not a potato.
FPS.
Yeah. I mean, Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is even running better in the frame rate department than the Series X on the Series S.
Yeah.
I mean, Digital Foundry showed it, and it's like, like the console is not a struggler. It's decent for all the feature sets that it has that isn't being utilized, by the way.
Yeah.
When they do, I mean, it'll get even better. But look, if you're into, if you want to get into Xbox and you just want a low entry point, the Series S is awesome. It's the way to go. I have one. Actually, my son. I gave it to my son, but I've played the thing, and honestly, it's a great little machine. I don't see the problem with it. All these articles that have come out, or there was one article that came out stating that it's just the fanboys were running with this article, that a lot of developers want them to drop the Series S. They want Xbox to drop the Series S. No, they don't.
I mean, do they not understand that that's not going to happen? Like that, even to ask something like that, it's like, what are you saying? Right? It makes no sense. Like 2/3 of the consoles out there for this generation for Xbox are the Series S. What are you saying? Are you saying they should drop the majority of their customers after 2 years? Like that's just that's an insane statement to even make, and they know that. Like, why would they even ask that? So it is more difficult. Obviously, it's more challenging to have to develop for that box, because you can just take the raw grunt of the PS5 and Series X and just make your game work. Fair enough. But guess what? That's what console gaming has been forever. Games come out on the freaking Switch. The Switch is way underpowered. You want another console that's out there? It's called the Steam Deck. It's 2 T-flops. Don't tell me you can't make a game work if this 2 T-flop Steam Deck can make it work, right? No, you have to put the time in. It is what it is. Deal with it. It is what it is, right? So it can absolutely work. And you have examples of games coming out like Modern Warfare 2, brand new, fantastic looking game, 1440-60 on a Series S. 1440-60. Come on.
Yep.
Tell me you can't do it. Come on.
It's funny too, because we've seen some games where they've said, well, the Series S can't hit the 60 frames target, but it came out in 60 on the Series X and the PlayStation 5. And that's cool. That tells you it's not holding back the Series X if they're allowed to, put the game at a higher frame rate on the Series X. But like a month later, they made a 60 frames mode for the console. And I forgot what game it was, but it was just ridiculous. Dying Light. That was Dying Light 2. That was it. Yep. It was crazy because we were hearing from the devs saying that it couldn't be done. And a month later, it was done.
Yeah, I mean, it has the same CPU horsepower as the other one.
Put in the work.
So it's like, you can't tell me it doesn't have enough grunt to do it. Right?
And it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, just put in the work and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is work. It is. But my thing is just don't tell people that it can't be done when it can.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. And then looking at the Series X and the PlayStation 5, if you're telling me that Gotham Knights can't run on that because it's so highly detailed, you're full of shit. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if the Series S were an excuse for the performance issues, why is the PS5 version also 30 FPS? PS5 doesn't have a PS5 Lite, right? It's running it's a full PS5. So, what's the issue there? No, it's just you didn't put in the time to make that happen. So as far as the the Series S having lower performance, I'd even give it to some devs, say, okay, fine, only do 30 FPS on there, because ultimately the player that's playing on that system isn't expecting high tier performance because they know there's a higher tier box, right? So you're getting the box to get entry into gaming, and that's fair. A lot of players, that's good enough for them. So fine. I still say take the time if you can and give them the 60 FPS because you can do it. But if you can't, fine. At least get the game on there and stop complaining that you have to put a game on a console that's 2 years old.
And,
like, come on.
And if you are pushing fidelity and you're putting your game out there at 30 frames per second, don't tell people that it can't be done at 60. Just put your game out there and then, stay quiet. Don't talk about the frame rate issue. If that's what you really want to do, hopefully you end up putting a performance mode in there at some point. But again, it goes back to time and budget constraints because they do have to allocate a budget for everything, right? When you're developing a game. And if your intent is to put your game out on 30 frames per second, that's where you allocate your money, is that fidelity and where you're pushing all that. So it's not as just simple as saying they just don't want to do it. They just may not have the time nor budget to do it at the time. They just, that, and people have to be considerate of that as well. As much as I want, 60 frames in my games, performance modes, I do realize that there are some constraints there that developers have. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But just don't lie to us. That's what I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there has been development headaches, right, over the last couple of years, as far as like the COVID headache. I know people don't want to hear it, but this is when it's going to hit, right? Because all that optimization that they could have been doing, it was tough to do because you have to be in office to play with these dev kits. And it's tougher to do when you're at home, right? Even if they wanted to get something with like a high-end PC, there were component shortages. Not everybody could buy high-end stuff. It was all hard to do, and everybody was hit by it, right? There's no like special channel that they would have to go buy these things. We were all stuck. It was very hard to do anything. So I understand their issues, and we're probably going to see that for the next year or two as it plays out, and then hopefully it'll get better. But I agree with you. Why even make a statement? Just don't even bother. Just like, sorry, this is what we could do, and that was what we've got out there. We may be able to invest in something better later, but that's it, right? So but don't say that it can't be done. Things like that. It inflames people, and like, what do you mean it can't be done? These other games are doing it. So what are you saying? Like, so. And I guess first party, like God of War Ragnarok, right? You want to make sure that first party always does this. They have to have a performance mode. We're hearing Starfield, for instance, where Todd Howard's like, I want 30 FPS. I'm like, yeah, but your players don't.
Yeah.
So
that's the one thing that scares me is Starfield. Like, we've heard Xbox push this narrative about pushing frame rates. Even the Series X, if you look at a lot of the trailer, the ads for it and stuff, it says 4K gaming, 120 hertz. Like, they really push frame rates. Phil talked about it a lot. And, but they are hands off of their studios at the same time. So I'm wondering, like, about Starfield, only because, look, this is Bethesda, this is Todd's baby, and all of his babies have come out at 30 frames on consoles. We have yet to see them put out a 60 frames RPG like this. We did have mods for it, but again, that's the community. That's the community.
Yeah, and I think Skyrim, with the anniversary update, they did a 60, right? I think they did a 60 mode official. But they don't generally do that. But again, it was on console. I'm hoping that at a corporate level, they'll say, hey, if possible, make a 60 FPS. I really would prefer that they make sure that there's always a performance mode.
And I'm not too worried about, most of the first party games at Xbox or Sony. I really am not worried, especially hearing about the God of War stuff.
Yeah.
This is really good news. The fact that they were pushing 120 hertz there.
Yeah.
That, to me, it's just like that's awesome. With games like Gotham Knight and even a Plague's Tale Requiem, I know that they sort of put a quasi performance mode in with the whole, if you have a 120 hertz TV, you can squeeze out 10 more frames.
Yeah.
But that's not 60. Like, that's the benchmark we want as gamers now, especially on console. PC guys have been spoiled by this for so many years. And when I was on PC, the quest to hit that magic number, and this was years ago, so back then we had potatoes for PCs, but getting that at least 60 frames to 100 frames was the spot. You had to get way up there. So we would tinker and pull down everything, shadows, medium settings. We'd try to do what we could to hit those targets, and we did. So our games would go from looking pristine to potatoes, but we had those frames. And I'm the same way on console, though. I don't care if it takes a big hit in the visual department. I like the way it feels. I like the way it looks too. I like the smooth animations and stuff.
Yeah, I think doing both is cool, right? Because you can turn on the fidelity mode just to see it, right? To see, okay, this is what it looks like. Cool. I get it. It looks beautiful. And maybe there are scenes where you're like, I want to see this one in 4K 30 just to see what it's like. But then I'm going to go back to my, 1440 60 because that's what I want to play with, right? But yeah, it's cool to have the toggle option, right? I just want to see the best that you can do with this. This is awesome. And then I want to play it in 60.
Yeah.
So
the Andrew 13, thank you for the super chat. He said, that dev that said that made I Am Fish. Game ran like utter crap on my Series X and gave up after 30 minutes. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I have one here from Game On Daily. He's been a member for 14 months. I have to look on another device because for some reason it doesn't show up on my program here. Actually, no, it does. It does. Great. I see it. So he celebrates 14 months here. Thank you very much, Gaz. I appreciate that. He said, this message is sponsored by Hargeet's beard, that majestic beard. Man, that's the truth, man. That majestic beard. One of the best beards in the game, folks. But yeah, I'm just sick and tired of just the lies that, that some of these people will put out there and then run with. You might hear one developer call the Series S a potato, and then there'll be an article written saying how every developer says it's a potato. And it's not the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys have to understand too. This is how things get blown out of proportion. And then you get the fanboys that rally around these articles and post them everywhere. So it seems like this is a bad thing and the Series S is really bad. And it's just not. It's not. It's got so much going for it. There's a misconception out there because the 1X had more teraflops than the Series S, that somehow it was a better machine, but it's not. The feature sets, the CPU, everything in this thing, it trumps the 1X hard.
Yeah, and the 1X,
it'll continue to grow as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, the 1X was intended to do 4K. That was the whole point of it, 4K 30, right? And so they had the higher teraflops to handle the higher texture quality, right? To be able to put that up on polygons, right? So in the case of the Series S, it's not intended to go to 4K. It may do it, but it's not intended to do 4K. It was intended to be an entry-level 1080p 1440 device, right? And so it's not looking for those high-quality textures. It's looking for the equivalent of the Xbox One or PS4, just scale to the next generation, right? So it gives you the 60 FPS. The CPU is very similar to the Series X, right? So you have a lot of power there, probably more, I think, than even the PS5. It's scaled to 3.5 gigahertz. It's really a 3 gigahertz CPU, right? So this is 3.4 and then 3.6 if you want the the higher performance tier, but you lose multi-threading. So that's pretty damn good. That's a very impressive CPU. The area that's kind of interesting to me is the memory. They went to 10 gigs instead of the 8 from the last, the Xbox One and PS4. I think if they had bumped that up to like 12 to 16, it would have been a bit more easier for developers to be able to handle it, because that's where they have to tinker, right? Because in consoles, this has always been the case. You have to figure out how to okay, that scene isn't going to be there on screen, so I can not put in the full textures and play around with the way things are loading and the way things are streaming so that I can put things into memory and take it out. Now, this is the stuff they have to deal with, and yes, that makes it more challenging. I get it, but that doesn't mean you can't do it, because we've done it before. Like the things that they've been able to pull off with these consoles over the generations is insane, right? So you can't tell me it can't be done. It can be done. Play Red Dead Redemption 2 on an Xbox One. It still looks fucking unbelievable. It just is what it is, right? And so you can't tell me that box can do it, but then you can't do a Series S. That's just, no, come on. You can do it. Yeah. You just have to put in the time. I get it, but...
Speaking of which, man, I wish we could somehow get a patch for 60 frames for Red Dead 2.
I know, right? All those things.
Amazing. Shout out to Zocker. I know he loves Red Dead Redemption 2. Loves it.
Arkham Knight. If they like the original Arkham trilogy, in fact, if they could bump those up, right, get those kind of remastered.
It's the resolution that's so bad with 4K, Arkham Knight. It's so bad. It's like 900p on the Series X.
But
and the rain, the constant rain in the game gives me a headache, literally.
yeah,
Like I can't play through it because it just
yeah.
looks so bad, that resolution. That needs to be up res big time. I see you, Ryan Landis. He said that I heard that Series S is killing gaming and we're all doomed. And Charlie Hustle says Review Tech USA said so.
Right.
Really? Oh gosh, Review Tech.
I thought Microsoft buying Activision is going to kill gaming because Call of Duty won't be on PlayStation.
It might. Hey, we're not talking about the ABK deal. We're not doing that today. We're just not. Just won't do that. Anyways, that is it. That's pretty much the end of the show, Hargeet. I had a good time. Hopefully you had a good time as well. Chat, hopefully you had a good time as well. But yeah, that's all the show I have for you today, guys. And look out for a video. I do have a video coming. If you like the show today here, please like. If you're here and you're not subscribed, if you will, go ahead and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to try to start making more videos as well. So as I have the time, I'm going to do so. And if I have the passion for the topic as well, I have to really want to make a video on something. Like I have to like the topic to get into it. I'm not like some of these guys that could just do a video on just anything. And it's just like, I know in the background, they're like, I don't care about this, but they're going to make the video anyway. I can't do that. I have to want to talk about that. So I got a video I'm making right now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. It'll be out probably Monday. So tomorrow, it'll probably be out tomorrow. So look out for that. And besides that, Hargeet, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so definitely check out our website, gameondaily.com. And then our Saturday podcast is Go Live on 4 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/gameondaily. And then I am H Chani on Xbox. And I don't know how that works with Discord. It's the same, but there's like some numbers on it. So yeah, check me out on Xbox.
I don't know how that works either. Discord's really weird. Anyways, thank you guys for showing up today in the chat. Thank you guys for listening on demand. And until next week, guys, game on.